Hello, I'm Brad.
And I'm Jason.
You are listening to
Dice in Mind.
So it's been a couple of weeks since we actually recorded, if I'm going to break the proverbial fourth wall of timelines.
Which we've never done.
No, we've never done that.
Right.
And I've never been the main culprit of it.
No.
So as you've been listening for the past few weeks, those have been some pre-recorded because we build up traditionally a couple of weeks worth of a buffer. But I think it's probably been 2 weeks since we've recorded, and probably about that much or maybe a little bit longer because I've been under the weather, where we've been actually able to sit down and talk about everything that's been going on, the shows, and I haven't been able to even keep up with them.
The shows, the games, the cons, there's been a lot going on for sci-fi and fantasy.
Yeah, so we thought we could, well, let's be transparent. The original intent of this episode was to do some session 0/session 1 type gaming, but I totally
There goes the fourth
bogarted
wall.
I totally bogarted on the
Yeah.
on the prep for it, even though I said I was ready. So this is going to be a bit of a we have plenty of material to talk about because I think both of us have notes about things that we've been wanting to chat about, but that wasn't the original intent of the episode. So we'll be coming back in episode 74, 75, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere out there.
Yeah, somewhere out there, and doing that. In between some really cool interviews.
Yeah, we've got some designers, some authors. We do have some pretty cool stuff.
Even a surprise visit by one of our first, if not first, interview. Hint, hint. If you want to go back to the very beginning.
Yeah.
So buckle up. We're going to have a few weeks of good material. So don't unsubscribe yet. We haven't gotten to the point where we're doing visual song and dance.
And we're never going to get there. So
I was just saying, if we get to that point, then that would be the time to unsubscribe.
That would be the right. Just don't download anymore. Do your technology a favor.
But on the flip side, we probably wouldn't warn you that you're gonna get that until you download it. So you'll probably listen to the episode before unsubscribing. But let's not talk about unsubscribing anymore, even though I'm the one that brought it up.
Yeah, much like the rest of our listeners, I'm uncomfortable with what this is doing.
Uncomfortable is a pretty bland term from what you normally use with me. So
that is true.
What has caught, I'm going to put you on the spot. What has caught your attention in the world of sci-fi, high fantasy gaming over the past few weeks? And that's a really loaded question because we could go in all sorts of different directions on it. But I'm just curious because you and I have, before we recorded this, we've talked for an hour. And I purposely didn't kind of ask that question or go down that path because I wanted it to be, and I think you did too, we wanted it to be kind of
honest in our discussion, in our chat.
Yeah, we didn't prep. So, and then we don't normally prep.
Oh, well, more than this. But yeah. So, well, no, because this is actually something that we did just start to talk about, and then we had to click record. I was actually just saying to one of my daughters this morning how there's so much TV right now. There's so much streaming right now. And I say this as someone, as a kid, I watched so much TV.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so much TV. But that changed in college, largely because I didn't have one in my room, just didn't have a TV. And we had the one freshman year, Brad's looking at me. We had the one freshman year plugged into the 4 gaming consoles, but that's an entirely different story.
No. And I was thinking to myself, this is where we're at with technology and society, is I'm thinking to myself, why could we not have a TV in a room? Well, streaming didn't exist.
No streaming, no Wi-Fi. You had to have it over. I've had so many, probably like you with your kids, Brad. I've had so many chats lately with my 2 teenage daughters, and the consensus seems to be that we grew up in something approximating the Stone Age, because or as my younger daughter would say, well, that sounds terrible. So quote unquote.
Well, actually, if you toss the pandemic in there, it'd probably be more like the Middle Ages with the bubonic plague.
Yeah,
if you want to,
yeah, very good point. Yes. Man, so I didn't watch that much, and on break when I was home, whatever, of course then I watched lots of TV, and watched lots of movies. Grad school, I probably watched a bit more because I had a TV, but there wasn't a lot of time for it, so I didn't. And then, I mean, you know how it is. It's you get a profession, you get married, you have kids, and it's like ever since they grew out of Sesame Street and PBS, I just watch less and less. But thanks to Trek and everything coming back, my dance card has been full for a long time, as it were. Well, right now, the long version.
Speaking that, since we were talking about song and dance earlier, do you really want to use dance card as a metaphor?
My banal roster has been full.
Okay, there we go.
My stationary directory, my Rolodex.
There we go.
Yeah, but no. In final response to your question, there's so much streaming right now. I don't know the last time I have followed so many shows and such diversity. So specifically, as we're recording now, I follow religiously Star Trek Lower Decks. That will surprise none of our listeners. I have been watching Andor. We're recording on a Thursday. I have not yet seen yesterday's episode. I'm hoping to fix that in the coming day or two. I'm really quite taken by Andor. It is very good storytelling, and it's like when I started texting you with the first episode, oh my God, does Andor make me want to role play, and even role play in the old West End Star Wars, because these are the worlds and scenarios beyond the Jedis and the Rebellion, where no one has quote unquote superpowers like the Mandalorian, which I love as a show, but this is just visceral Star Wars. And so there's that, and then there's the Power of the Rings, and it's very ponderous, but it's very well done.
Is it?
It really is.
I have not started that
yet. It really is. And then naturally with my girls, we're watching She-Hulk, which is surprisingly entertaining. And I'm just assuming this is a setup for the next Avengers movie, but we'll see in a couple episodes. So that's streaming wise, it's more TV than I have made a point of watching in quite a few years. Game wise, for me, each one of those shows just keeps translating, making me want to game more. And I keep looking over at my shelf, and it's like, oh, there are so many things I want to pull out and play. And then literally in the neighborhood, less than a mile, what is it, like 0.8 mile from my house, a brand new gaming store opened.
You didn't tell me that.
I think I did, but
did I? Did you? I may have missed it.
I might have texted. I might have texted. I know I posted something on Twitter. It's the third of this group's shops to open. It's Level Up Minnesota, and it's the third store, and it just came in not far from us. I mean, I could walk if I wanted to. And so one of my daughters and I stopped while running errands, just walked in, didn't buy anything.
They actually willingly stopped at a game store with you.
I mean, she was.
Well, you were the driver, so maybe they didn't have a choice.
I was the driver. She gets her permit in a month or so. She didn't have a whole lot of choice, but they also had a ton of like board games and like every version of Catan. So like we walked in for 5 minutes, and she knew it would be like that because we were on a schedule. But they had not a very deep cut, but they had a pretty wide selection. Like they had the Klingon source book for STA from Odysseus. And then everything you would want for Pathfinder and D&D, which makes sense. And then, board games, miniatures, manga, all the things I don't care about personally. But it's neat to have, and it's a really nice looking shop. It's neat to just have that in the neighborhood. So I will certainly keep checking back, just to see how it evolves.
This is something that, so I'm behind on all this stuff. I've been under the weather, so I haven't been able to keep up. But I kind of mentioned this, I think, in text to you about Andor. I'll watch it, but
yeah,
I need some material that is post Empire, post Skywalker saga.
Agreed.
So I feel like, and again, I'm going to watch it. It's just I wasn't super psyched about it because I'm like, we're rehashing material that may not be canon anymore. They're rebuilding canon. But it I get it. It's a kind of a prequel to Rogue One. Andor is a compelling character. I like the actor. It just is not on the top of my list right now compared to like Keeping Up with Lower Decks, and the Amazon Rings saga and some of the other things. So
I wonder how much of it, I'm just going to put this out here as an hypothesis. I wonder how much of this is a sign of our times. So here, go with me on this for a sec. So you think of us growing up in the 80s.
Yep.
Okay, as children of the 80s. Everything was about, we've talked about this on the podcast before. Everything was about the future. I mean, movies look to the future. They were terrible movies often. But movies look to the future. Books for kids, so many were future oriented. The space shuttle was new and was going to change everything, and we were going to go to the moon and Mars and whatever. But still, that was very much post Apollo into the 80s. Through the 80s, there was very much a future optimistic orientation. Okay. And we saw that as well on TV. I mean, look, Buck Rogers, really? I mean, basically it was disco in the 25th century, 26th century, but still.
Gil Gerard, love that show.
Right. So even, Battlestar Galactica, it was maybe in the past, but it seemed like in the future, right? There was just this major future orientation. And we saw that on TV. We saw that in literature, in games, right? Star Trek games were coming out, Star Wars from West End, all of this stuff. Okay. Paranoia, all of this stuff in the future. Now, in the teens and 20s of our age, so look at all of these shows. Everything with Trek, Lower Decks, Prodigy, especially Strange New Worlds. I am a fan of all of them. I think Strange New Worlds is some of the best Trek ever made. That said, every one of them is technically a prequel of one form or another.
But I'm glad you brought up Strange New Worlds because that is a prequel, obviously, to the original series.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I love that because it's new canon, right?
Yes.
And to me, and again, I like where the Trek universe is going with what Paramount's doing, because you have, and we've talked about Discovery. They were able to, with one show, take us into the past and then send us to the future. So we got more detail on the past and we're starting to in the future. I think it's ingenious.
It is, and I'm not knocking on it. Just like one of the reasons I'm chomping at the bit for Picard season 3, and there are many reasons, is because it's finally again taking us forward into the future. But you brought this up with Star Wars, but I don't think it's unique to Star Wars, Brad. I think Trek canon is right now all about the prequels, and it's doing it beautifully.
Yep.
Star Wars, I mean, The Mandalorian, Boba Fett, middle-aged Obi-Wan.
I love that show.
See, and I thought that was by far the weakest. I enjoyed it, but I thought it was by far the weakest. Andor, they're all prequels. Power of the Rings is a prequel of the Second Age to the Third Age in Lord of the Rings, right? And on and on and on. And I wonder, you look at where we are right now as a species and certainly as a society, and we're doing a lot of looking back, not looking forward. And it's interesting just in the 2020s to compare where we are through these various media and games to the mindset of the 80s. it is, I mean, it's the material is far better now than it ever was, but it's a different perspective.
Well, are we looking again? I don't want to, you and I explicitly say we don't get into politics here. It's just,
no
it's a,
politics.
no. Because it's a preface, because you bring up a really great point about looking back. Are we looking back because of what, obviously the majority of society, because these shows are successful, right? Or these, are we looking back because of what we've experienced the past few years? And obviously some of these shows obviously predated the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
Is it different, 2 years since the pandemic began? It's a rhetorical question.
No.
Because I think it's going to differ based off of individual perspective, but it's just interesting to me you bring that up just by the nature of, and we talked about this before, how much we're getting in content that we always wanted when we were younger,
Okay, so you just partially answered the question.
Yeah.
Because who's writing? Very good. Who's writing all of this or most of this?
Yeah.
People our age, who in middle age are now looking back at the things that made them happy, at the things they remember from childhood, and they have the ability now to enact those things.
Well, even shows like, and it's funny how even some of the shows, even if you step out of the Trek verse and the Skywalker verse, whatever you want to call it, if not the Star Wars universe, but something like a Stranger Things.
Right.
Which hits multiple generations. For you and I, it's around the time that we were kids.
Yep.
For our kids, my daughter just bought a Stranger Things sweatshirt. She never was into like following like K-pop bands or things like that. Neither of our girls are like that.
No.
But she bought a new Stranger Things sweatshirt.
Yep.
And that's as close as she gets to being a fangirl.
Exactly.
Of anything. And I air quoted that because I don't want to sound.
Yeah. No.
But
yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's a fascinating time, and even beyond the shows, I'm with you on. Again, I'm at a point now where I feel like I need to do some gaming, which is ironic considering I blew up our opportunity to do that today.
We shall game again.
Yes, but one of the things you and I talked about with doing it and why we wanted to do it is it gives us the opportunity, and we're never going to be a live gaming show. Let's just make that clear.
No,
this was more of it's going to be a different spin on that, because you're going to hear a really noob GM and a relatively new player doing a duet type of thing. And
that's right.
Then we open it up for the 5 listeners we have to critique. So, which by the way, it reminds me, I saw the text from our friend Scott. Scott, if you happen to be listening, we saw your text and we're ready to game.
Oh yeah.
So that's another outlet for us, but I really want to find some outlets for us to do some gaming. Obviously, I wouldn't mind doing some West End Star Wars, honestly.
I have to say the itch to go back to the West End system has really, really been growing. I mean, first of all, you can't talk to Bill Smith and not want to go back.
Yeah.
And I mean, I cut my teeth in gaming on Star Wars 2nd edition. And I mean, it's been a long time. I'd need some time to prep, right?
Yeah.
But yes, I am very tempted. And then honestly watching, and okay, so this is funny. You'll appreciate this. So we've talked about how, like, the whole point of the podcast is like, okay, you see things going on in life and you question, what would you have to roll for that to happen?
Oh, we had that whole episode about
that whole episode. And then with Andor, and maybe it's just the coincidence of how recently we spoke with Bill, but watching Andor, I keep having these moments while I'm watching during the episodes of asking myself that question, not answering, just asking. But in the mind's eye, I'm thinking about it with a bunch of D6s. And I haven't had that happen really since I started with you and Brian on Edge of the Empire.
Now you have me more intrigued about Andor just from a gaming perspective.
From a gaming perspective, it's worth watching on its own.
I think that could be the hook that would get me to watch it much sooner than I thought about doing. Mm-hmm. But there are one of the things I picked up today. I didn't get a chance to talk about this. Was picked up the Dune core rulebook again, and it's been a bit since I've done that. And I think one of the things we did talk about was having a discussion about that and bringing someone on.
You're not buying anything right now, or
no. I'm bringing something up because the other thing that I bought the Marvel playtest book.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I bought that a while back.
Matt's playtest.
Yeah, Matt Forbeck's playtest guide. Fellow Wisconsinite. And I really, really would like to at some point try to role play in the Marvel universe in some form or another.
Like the musical?
Yeah. Well, I think we're not going to go there because you and I don't have the talent,
right.
And we have our friends at Mythic Thunderloo who can do a lot better than us with meshing RPGs.
That is very true. They do a much better job.
Yeah, music. So
okay, who would you? I got to think about this though. Who or what kind of superhero? I'm having a really hard time saying this seriously. Who or what kind of superhero would you play?
I think we need to pause the recording at this point because I need to let all of the humorous responses come out.
Oh, the inappropriate things, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it. Are you asking if I were to create a character or if I were to play an existing superhero? If I played an existing superhero, by far, I like them all, but absolute favorite, Captain America. And don't laugh. I have Captain America's shield in my car as on little dangler off of my
no, that totally legitimizes it.
Yeah, no, but I really like the new Captain America, Falcon Captain America. I'm really excited about the new movie that Anthony Mackie's going to lead. As
that'll be good.
Yeah, so I guess to be continued in terms of what kind of superhero I want, because I thought about that in the playtest guide, and they give you a lot of the existing character information in the book. It's really cool. And I'm excited to see the final version of it. But for me, the past few weeks was Dune, the One Ring, second edition. I haven't dug into it yet, but there was a Kickstarter for a reissue of I want to say second edition Call of Cthulhu.
Interesting.
And it had all sorts of cool content. And I'm not going to get too deep into it because this can be a GM corner piece for a future episode.
Sure.
But that has been sitting on my shelf here, ready for me to touch and look at further. But there's too much other stuff that's in front of it right now. Not as a knock to the Cthulhu game. It's just where we have to continue your adventures in Homeland, which is the name of my world I created.
Yes, we do. Yes,
we have Star Wars to play, whether it's West End or Studio. It would be overly silly to the point of idiotic if I didn't mention the fact that we have been jonesing to play Star Trek Adventures.
That's an understatement. We've been talking about that in earnest for quite some time.
Yeah, I think those are and then I want us to try Cthulhu Awakens when it comes out from Green Ronin. I'm very excited. It's still in that
that's
phase.
A good idea. Yes.
So just based off of how it was developed when we had Malcolm Shepard on and all that. I'm really excited to see that come to fruition. But yeah, there's so much on our plate, and I'm even looking here. I know that we've talked about the new book that's coming out that Jeff Ashworth is involved in. I love his guides, random really encounters, puzzles and dungeons, NPCs. So as you can tell, we're vamping a little bit, but
there's and then Keith Allman, he's got his How to Defend Your Lair coming out. Now, granted, that's not until into December, but that's been, I think, on both of our read lists for quite some time. And I'm hoping that it is akin to his, I guess technically his second book, which is more of a tutorial on how to play, right? How to live to tell. I'm blocking on it. How to live to tell about it. I just totally lost it. It's too far away on my shelf.
Live to Tell the Tale.
Thank you. Live to Tell the Tale. That's right. Live to Tell the Tale, which is still one of my absolute favorite role playing. I don't know what you call books, right? Not source books, but actual guides. That one just, it was so
literature. That's literature. And not that anything else is, but that's
you're right.
That's what you would consider, and not a knock. That's good traditional literature focused on gaming.
That makes me a better player.
Right?
And honestly, a bit of a better GM. So yeah, that there are, again, like you said, there are books coming out. There are books that are out. Our list is too long. And then the reality is, like so many people these days, you and I lately have been busy.
Yeah.
Between work and home, it's just been busy. I think this is without me realizing it, I think this has become the busiest I've been in quite some time. And I enjoy it all, but this is the busiest I've been in quite some time.
Yeah, and I think that's why we had that delay in recording. We haven't caught up. In effect, what you're kind of listening to, folks, is kind of what he and I do before we record, except there's less homonym attacks and it is more rated PG.
No PG-13 for this podcast.
No, there isn't. But this is kind of stream of consciousness when we talk about what comes up.
It's funny you mention profanity, because when I thought we were going to play a session, it occurred to me
you're gonna have your throwing axes ready.
I told you that, but it occurred to me, man, I've got to be able. I'm not big into swearing. I never have been, but role playing is one of those few things I got to watch my language.
Yeah, no, I've heard you drop a darn and a shoot here and there.
Maybe even more.
Yeah, when I can't remember. I'm going to try to keep this benign and clean, but during the jailbreak scene, when
but those epithets were all directed as you at GM.
Well, yes. Well, I'm talking about when
the content.
Yeah, the content. I'm trying best. How do I verbalize this? When Brian,
you became infatuated with my scrotum. Let's just call it what it was. and my PC suffered for it. So we're just going to leave it there and not explain any further.
I think it's now PG-13. I was trying to avoid that, but you just went right for the foreskin, and
they're well done. But I mean, the reality that also though was a really fun session, but that's what they should be.
It was fun, and it was fun having Brian on there, because that was, I think, the episode when, because that was when you tried to help Brian escape, but you started a fire.
It worked.
It did.
I mean, granted, there were bad rolls and there was a bit too much GM prerogative, but that's the beauty of these games, that they might not be, that there is an element of randomness to them, that no matter what you plan on the GM side or the player side, And that's one of the things we so enjoy about them, and why they're so relevant to real life, because some of this stuff you can plan for and see coming, but then there are those 1s and 20s, and it makes for
or a
hilarity.
GM that ignores them and puts you
Also
through the
true.
ringer anyway.
Pretty obviously.
Yeah, that was an episode where it didn't matter what you rolled. I already knew what was going to happen to you both. There were obviously when Brian face planted into your nether regions on accident when you were trying to bail him out of the jail cell.
Oh, I
That was
forgot
more
about
that.
that scene. I was just thinking about the physical insults my character kept taking.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah, that too. But you busted
Yeah.
Brian out of the jail cell, the metal jail cell.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he came because he was pushing on the door as you were pulling on the door, and then
And to think that the first time we played Edge of the Empire and I GM'd, you both were dismayed that I was railroading you.
yeah, yes. There was a little bit of a comeuppance there.
Yes, I think
But
so.
that's fine. I think, in all honesty, if we this probably won't be a super long episode, but if we kind of by default, I'm vamping here, I'm ad libbing, or I'm just sending us in a direction. If we head over to talking like from a GM corner perspective,
Mm-hmm.
As I've been able to get back into this, um, you know, I'm not going to talk about what's been on my desk because I think we've kind of talked about that.
Yeah, right.
But what do I want to have on my
excellent.
desk this next week? In all honesty, it's going to be D&D material because we're going to be prepping for.
Nice.
And what I mean by that is, I always look at, like the book, the Acquisitions Incorporated book, Tasha's Cauldron. All of those are superb resource material for designing, and I had something designed for today, but now that I get a couple weeks, it won't look as wireframey and lame. I want to beef it up a little bit, and I'll also leverage, and we have to, if we ever get a chance to have Matt Davids on, I have a lot of his. Here's one. Just pull the Game Master's Terrain Guide by Matt Davids. He has a lot of great material, and I actually just read the No Prep Game Master, which is how to leverage this type of material and be a creative game master. And it's a really, it's a short book. It's
interesting,
short paperback, and it was really well done. I enjoyed it. So, but that we're talking about what we're going to do in the future. That's going to be my focus this week, is clearing my desk this weekend because this functions as a work desk and as a podcast desk. Clear it off of work and stack my books and do some, in effect, some writing. But along with that, I've been doing some writing, not as much over the past few weeks, but about well, I'm going to leave it at that. I've been doing some writing and more to come on that. So if you thinking about the coming week, what are you going to put on your desk?
Oh man, well, I'm not sure. Though I will be the first to admit that as you're talking and as I'm talking, I'm in the process of ordering the No Prep Game Master. So we're once again switching roles here. I'm just making sure it's going to arrive in a timely manner.
AKA when Amy's not at home.
For 7:49, she can be home for this one.
Okay.
No, that's
I just called it. Did we ever use our wives' names on here before?
You've used yours, but now
Have
it's
I?
just more proof that I have one.
Okay.
So, okay, so hold on. I'm just clicking order here from our dear friends at Amazon, also known as the antidote to delayed gratification. Um, though this won't come until Sunday, so I'm gonna have to find something else. Okay, so thank you for the recommendation. Ordered. Um, honestly, it's been so busy. Man, with all the people we've been interviewing and everything going on with these streaming shows, I've been kind of schizophrenic in my interests lately. I mean, you
Yeah.
said it earlier. I really want to play Star Trek Adventures. Really want to get back into D&D, into your homeworld campaign.
Yep.
I'm always eager to play something with Edge of the Empire. And for the first time in forever, uh, I was about to break into a Disney song, but I won't do that to anyone. For the first time in forever,
We
I'm
just talked about no song and
no
dance,
song and
remember?
dance. I kind of want to dabble with the D6 West End, though. So, I that's a terrible response. I guess I'm totally non-committal, other than it would be lovely this weekend to just read through some of my game material. So I'm going to give you a committed but non-specific response as I look over at my shelf. There are a number of things. Oh, I'll tell you. I'll pick. Sorry, I'm looking right now. I'll pick one that I've been ignoring lately, just because so much has come out. But I still have Midnight, right? The second the
Yes.
I still have Midnight, and man, is the backstory just beautifully written. I think as literature, to go back to your comment, your term, I think as literature, the what is it, Midnight Legacy of Darkness from
Yeah.
Odysseus, I think that this source book is the most literary I've seen from Odysseus, and from just about anyone. It's got so much literary backstory in the front of it. And watching Rings of Power kind of puts you in the mood, for Tolkien-esque things. We'll have to see. Maybe I'll go to that one. It's perfect as the weather's turning here in the Midwest and it's feeling legitimately cool. Perfect for that kind of dark and stormy night stuff. So we'll see. We'll see. To be continued.
You have me looking up. There it is. Midnight Legacy of Darkness. Edge Studio.
It's
Edge
I'm
Studio.
sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mojif, yeah, geez. Edge Studio. Yep. I think that's the first book from Edge I purchased. Still waiting for the new Star Wars stuff to come out from them. But man, Midnight, it's not an inexpensive book, but it is beautifully produced. Or, Brad, to close us out, if we really want to go down the rabbit hole,
Yeah.
we go back to the Genesis guides.
Oh,
And
I forgot. I can't believe I didn't bring that up.
just because I can spend so much time just reading the tables
Mm-hmm.
in those two guides, and imagining some world building.
Well, it looks like just as you did Amazon
Good
uh,
man.
Midnight Legacy of Darkness.
There you go. Of course, you just spent like $50 more than I did in the same sitting, but
And
that's okay.
I'm lucky that nobody I know really listens to this that lives in this house. So you
That's
can
right.
say the cost. But
That's right. Again,
apparently my
it's
book is going to arrive the same day yours is.
on Sunday.
Yes.
Very good. So I think everyone can stay tuned for some more talk about Midnight Legacy of Darkness.
I think
But
we should be since I blew the initial intent, and we never talk about this because we never blow the intent of the session.
yeah,
Um, I'm trying to figure out what to name the session. Could be Brad screwed up. Could be um, my DM as a space cadet.
I think 40 minutes of silence.
There we go.
And let's see if anyone listens.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If you do listen to it, and if you do listen to it, DM us on Twitter, Dice and Mind.
Yeah, let us know.
I'd be curious. I know obviously we can see things with some of the metrics and analytics we get for listenership, but if you actually do listen to it, is it really? Are we really at 40 minutes?
I'm just ballparking. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, then maybe for everyone's sake, it'll be one of the shorter episodes we have, and that's not a bad thing.
No. Look, on that note, as always, everyone, thanks for hanging out with us. Once again, we have, boy, do we have some interesting interviews coming up this month and next. So stay tuned. Be well, stay well. We will see you all next week.